For most police officers, the calls start to blend together after a while. It's just part of the job. But every now and then, a call comes in, usually at night, that just completely defies logic. These are the ones that stick with them, the ones that have no easy answers. So today, we're going to dig into three true stories, three night calls that left officers with some seriously unforgettable and unexplainable mysteries. And this quote right here from one of the officers, well, it says it all, doesn't it? This isn't just about reading a case file. These are deeply personal encounters that really get under your skin, blurring that line between what we think we know and something else entirely. All right, so our first story is about a veteran canine handler and his partner, a German Shepherd named Rex. Now, Rex is the real deal. He is the definition of a model police dog, calm under pressure, highly disciplined, and trained for the absolute most intense situations. This is a partner the handler trusts with his life, no questions asked. So look at this because it really highlights how bizarre this call was. On one side, you've got Rex's whole career. This is a dog that tracks armed suspects, a dog that doesn't flinch. But then you have his behavior on this call. The confident canine is suddenly terrified, pulling away, refusing to go into a room, growling at nothing. For a dog like Rex, this isn't just weird, it's impossible. Something is deeply, deeply wrong. So they're clearing the second floor of what's supposed to be an empty house. And suddenly, Rex just freezes. His hair is up, and he is laser focused on the end of the hall. The handler looks up, and he sees it too. A tall, dark figure just standing there, motionless. And he knows right away that is not another cop. The handler does what he's trained to do. He shouts, "Police," identifies himself. But the figure says nothing. It just turns calm as can be and walks right into the last bedroom. The officer goes after it, but he's practically dragging Rex, who is completely losing his mind. But when they get into the room, it's empty. Just empty. The window is locked from the inside. There are no closets, no attic hatch, absolutely nowhere for a person to go. It was like it just vanished into thin air. So what did they see, and where in the world did it go? An encounter like that, it's gonna stay with you forever. It's a story with no last chapter. But while some mysteries feel otherworldly, others are rooted in some of the darkest parts of human psychology. So for this next one, I want you to picture this. There's a massive thunderstorm, power's out all over town. A rookie officer is just sitting in his patrol car when this really bizarre 911 call comes over the radio. A man says he's been kidnapped. Okay, but there's a chilling little detail that puts everyone on edge. Yeah. The dispatcher's warning to the officers is just bone-chilling. The caller is an adult man, but his voice sounds like it's been digitally altered to sound like a little girl. Now think about that. That one bizarre detail completely changes everything. It suggests a level of psychological manipulation, maybe even torture, that is way beyond a standard kidnapping. So they get to this rundown house, and the guy who answers the door is just shifty. He denies everything, says no one else is there, and he knows his rights. He refuses to let them search without a warrant. But the officers, they can feel it. Something is not right here. So they get a telephonic warrant, which happens super fast, and within minutes that have the piece of paper they need to go in. You can just feel the tension cranking up with every second. The second they step inside, the scene is just deeply disturbing. The house is absolutely filthy, but there's a pink Barbie playhouse on the floor. One room is full of kids' toys and diapers, but it also has this life-size doll sitting in a rocking chair, dressed in women's clothing. And on the bed, neatly folded piles of lingerie. None of it makes any sense. It's this awful, contradictory collage that just screams of a severely disturbed mind. And then they find him. In the basement. A man who had been missing for 2 years. A man everyone thought was dead. He was alive. Turns out he managed to get a hold of his captor's forgotten cell phone and make that one call to 911. It was his only shot at freedom after years of being a prisoner. But this brings us right back to that haunting, unanswered question. The victim was a grown man. So why on earth did his voice sound like a little girl's on the phone? The officer could only guess. Maybe after 2 years of unimaginable torment, his voice was conditioned to sound that way? And you have to wonder, if he was forced to do that, what else was he forced to do? The psychological scars from a case like that, I can't even imagine. But sometimes the horror isn't just in what you find, it's in what you almost find. Our last story starts with one of the most common calls a patrol officer gets, a 911 hang-up. A neighbor calls, says they heard a woman scream, and then nothing. So an officer heads to this totally normal house on a quiet street, probably thinking it's a false alarm. It wasn't. Right away, as the officer walks up, he sees the first clue that this is not a routine call. The front door is slightly ajar. Now, in a quiet neighborhood like this one, that's a huge red flag. He immediately calls for backup, but he knows on a slow night like this, they're at least 10 minutes away. He goes inside the quiet house, calls out, "Police!" but there's no answer. Then, as he's starting to head up the stairs, he hears it. A faint shuffle, the sound of a foot dragging across the carpet on the second floor. He's not alone in there. He clears most of the upstairs rooms, and then he finds it, the first concrete evidence that something violent happened. It's a dark, wet spot on the carpet, right outside the bathroom door. A small pool of fresh blood. And the signs of a struggle just keep escalating as he moves through the house. A knocked-over lamp in the bedroom, more blood in the bathroom. And then, down in the basement, he finds the most damning evidence of all. A metal chair with cut zip ties on the floor around it and a significant amount of blood. It's terrifyingly clear a violent abduction happened right here. As he's scanning the dark basement with his flashlight, he catches it. Just a flicker of movement. A figure darts behind a stack of boxes in the corner. The suspect. He's still in the house. And then it all happens in a split second. The suspect smashes a basement window and scrambles out. The officer runs after him, even cuts himself on the broken glass, but the figure just vanishes into a dark alley. Seconds later, backup finally arrives, but it's too late. The suspect is gone. And the woman who lived in that house, she was never seen again. See, these stories don't have those neat, tidy endings we see on TV. There's no final answer, no closed case file for the officers involved. No, these are the calls that just linger. They replay in their minds for years, just filled with questions that can probably never be answered. And each story leaves its own ghost, right? For the canine handler, it's that impossible vanishing act and his dog's pure terror. For the rookie, it's the deeply disturbing psychological puzzle of that poor man's voice. And for the patrol officer, it's the knowledge that he was just seconds, maybe moments, away from stopping a violent crime and saving someone's life. Look, these are just 3 stories from 3 officers, but what they really represent is a part of police work that we don't often talk about, those moments of absolute high strangeness and the kind of profound uncertainty that can stay with a person forever. And that really leaves us with one final lingering thought. For these officers, and really for any of us who might encounter something that just defies all explanation, what do you do when what you saw, what you heard, what you know is true, is just simply unbelievable?